Have you ever sat alone and asked God a question that you were almost afraid to say out loud? Have you ever looked at your life, looked at your struggles, looked at your disappointments and whispered, "Why me, God?" If you have, then you are not alone. More people ask this question than they admit. Some ask it after losing a job. Some ask it after a broken relationship. Some ask it after a financial setback. Some ask it after losing someone they love. Others ask it after years of praying for something that still has not happened. The truth is that pain has a way of making us ask questions that comfort never does. When life is going well, we often move forward without thinking too much. But when life hurts, we start searching for answers. We want to know why things happened the way they did. We want to know why God allowed it. We want to know why our journey seems harder than everyone else's. We want to know why some people appear blessed while we feel forgotten. If that is where you are today, this message is for you. One of the hardest things about suffering is that it often feels personal. It feels like everyone else is moving forward while you are standing still. It feels like everyone else is receiving blessings while you are receiving battles. Social media makes this feeling even worse. You see people getting married, buying houses, starting businesses, celebrating victories and smiling in pictures. Meanwhile, you are fighting silent battles that nobody knows about. You are carrying burdens that nobody sees. You are crying tears that nobody hears. And in those moments, it becomes very easy to believe that God has singled you out for suffering. But that belief is not the truth. The truth is that every person has struggles. Every person has battles. Every person has seasons they do not post online. Every person has moments when they ask questions they cannot answer. The difference is that we usually compare our private pain to someone else's public highlight reel. That comparison can make us feel abandoned, when God is actually working in ways we cannot yet see. Something many people do not realize is that some of the strongest people in the Bible asked difficult questions too. They were not robots. They were human beings with real emotions. They experienced fear, disappointment, confusion, and grief. They cried. They struggled. They doubted. They wrestled with what they were going through. Yet God did not reject them for asking questions. God understands the heart of a hurting person. He understands what it feels like when life becomes overwhelming. He understands what it feels like when you have done your best and still ended up disappointed. He understands what it feels like when your prayers seem unanswered. Sometimes people think faith means pretending everything is okay. But real faith is often choosing to trust God while admitting that you do not understand what He is doing. Real faith says, "God, I don't understand this situation, but I am still holding on." One reason pain feels so confusing is because we naturally believe that good behavior should always produce immediate rewards. We think that if we pray, everything should work out. If we obey God, life should become easy. If we stay faithful, we should never face hardship. But life does not always work that way. Sometimes good people go through difficult seasons. Sometimes faithful people face unexpected losses. Sometimes those who love God experience heartbreak. That reality can be difficult to accept. Yet hardship is not always a sign that God is angry with you. Sometimes hardship is simply part of living in a broken world. Sometimes it is preparation. Sometimes it is growth. Sometimes it is protection. And sometimes the reason is something we may not fully understand until much later. What feels like punishment today may eventually reveal itself as protection tomorrow. Think about the times in your life when something did not work out the way you wanted. At the time, it probably felt devastating. Maybe you lost an opportunity. Maybe someone walked away. Maybe a door closed unexpectedly. Maybe a dream fell apart. In that moment, all you could see was the loss. But looking back now, you may realize that some of those closed doors actually protected you. Some relationships that ended would have brought greater pain if they had continued. Some opportunities that disappeared would have led you down the wrong path. Some delays prevented bigger problems. The challenge is that we usually understand God's protection after the fact, not during the process. During the process, all we see is disappointment. Later, we see wisdom. If you are currently asking, "Why me, God?" there is something important you need to remember. Your struggle does not define your value. Your pain does not define your future. Your current situation does not define your identity. Too many people allow their circumstances to tell them who they are. They lose a job and begin to feel worthless. They experience rejection and begin to feel unlovable. They face failure and begin to believe they are failures. But circumstances are temporary. God's view of you is not based on your worst day. It is not based on your biggest mistake. It is not based on your current struggle. God sees more in you than you currently see in yourself. He sees potential when you see limitations. He sees purpose when you see confusion. He sees a future when all you can see is the present pain. There are people watching this right now who are tired. Not physically tired, soul tired. The kind of tired that comes from carrying burdens for too long. The kind of tired that comes from fighting battles nobody knows about. The kind of tired that comes from staying strong for everyone else while secretly feeling exhausted inside. If that is you, I want you to hear this clearly. You do not have to have everything figured out today. You do not have to understand every detail of God's plan today. You do not have to know exactly how everything will work out. Sometimes the next step is simply refusing to quit. Sometimes victory begins with deciding to get up one more time. Sometimes strength looks like continuing to trust God even when your emotions are telling you to give up. Maybe your story is not over yet. Maybe the chapter you are living in right now is painful, but it is not the final chapter. Maybe what feels like an ending is actually a beginning. Maybe what feels like a setback is actually preparation. Maybe what feels like silence is a season where God is working behind the scenes. The greatest mistake we can make is assuming that today's struggle tells us everything about tomorrow. It doesn't. Life can change in ways you never expected. Doors can open that you never saw coming. Opportunities can appear when you least expect them. Healing can happen. Growth can happen. Restoration can happen. And sometimes the very thing that once made you ask, "Why me, God?" becomes the testimony that helps someone else survive their darkest season. One of the biggest mistakes we make during difficult seasons is believing that because God is silent, He must be absent. Many people confuse silence with abandonment. They pray and hear nothing. They wait and see nothing. They ask questions and receive no immediate answers. After a while, they begin to wonder if God is even listening. Maybe you know that feeling. Maybe you have prayed the same prayer for months. Maybe you have cried the same tears over and over. Maybe you have carried the same burden for so long that you are starting to lose hope. But silence is not proof that God has left you. Think about a teacher during an exam. The teacher is usually quiet during the test, but that does not mean the teacher has abandoned the classroom. Sometimes God is working in ways that are invisible to us. Sometimes He is building something that cannot be seen yet. Sometimes He is developing patience, strength, wisdom, and character before He releases the blessing we are asking for. The hardest part is that growth often happens underground before it becomes visible above ground. A seed spends a long time hidden before anyone sees the tree it will become. Many people ask God, "Why is this happening to me?" But a question that can sometimes be just as powerful is, "What is this teaching me?" That does not mean every painful situation comes directly from God. It means that even in painful situations, lessons can be found. Struggles have a way of revealing things we might never notice during easy seasons. Hard times reveal who truly supports us. Hard times reveal where we place our trust. Hard times reveal strengths we never knew we possessed. Some of the strongest, wisest, and most compassionate people you will ever meet became that way because life forced them to grow through challenges they never wanted. Nobody enjoys the process. Nobody wakes up hopping for heartbreak, disappointment, or loss. But sometimes, those very experiences develop qualities that comfort never could. The person you become through the struggle may be preparing you for a future responsibility you cannot yet see. There is also something else we need to talk about. Sometimes when life hurts, we start blaming ourselves for everything. We replay old mistakes. We remember poor decisions. We think about opportunities we missed. We wonder if our current pain is somehow punishment for our past failures. While it is important to learn from mistakes, It is dangerous to live trapped by them. Many people are carrying guilt that God has already forgiven. Many people are holding themselves hostage over something that happened years ago. They cannot move forward because they keep looking backward. They cannot enjoy today's blessings because they are stuck reliving yesterday's regrets. If that sounds familiar, remember this. You cannot change the past. No amount of worry will rewrite it. No amount of self-punishment will erase it. What you can do is learn from it, grow from it, and allow God to use even your mistakes as part of your story. Some of the most powerful testimonies come from people who thought their failures had disqualified them, only to discover that God was not finished with them. Have you noticed how pain often makes us feel isolated? When we are hurting, it can seem like nobody understands. Even when people genuinely care, we sometimes feel alone because they cannot fully experience what we are experiencing. That loneliness can be dangerous because it encourages us to withdraw from others. We stop talking. We stop sharing. We stop reaching out. We convince ourselves that nobody would understand anyway. But isolation often makes pain feel heavier than it actually is. There are people who need encouragement from your story. There are people fighting battles similar to yours. There are people who would be comforted simply by knowing they are not alone. One of the enemy's favorite lies is convincing people that they must suffer in silence. Yet healing often begins when we stop pretending and start being honest. You do not have to carry every burden by yourself. You do not have to fight every battle alone. Sometimes the reason we struggle with the question, "Why me, God?" is because we expected life to be easier than it turned out to be. Nobody tells us how many disappointments can exist between a promise and its fulfillment. Nobody tells us how much patience may be required. Nobody tells us how many times we may need to keep believing when nothing appears to be changing. We love stories about victory, but we often overlook the difficult journey that happened before the victory arrived. We celebrate successful people without seeing the failures they endured. We admire strong people without understanding the battles they survived. We applaud the testimony without knowing the tears that produced it. Every breakthrough has a backstory. Every victory has a process. Every testimony has a struggle behind it. What if your current season is part of the story that will someday inspire someone else to keep going? Right now, there may be someone watching who feels forgotten. You wake up every day carrying the same concerns. You smile around people, but deep down you feel discouraged. You are tired of waiting, tired of hopping, tired of wondering when things will finally change. If that is you, remember this. Your value is not determined by how quickly your prayers are answered. Your worth is not determined by your bank account, your relationship status, your job title, or other people's opinions. You matter because God created you with purpose. Even when life feels confusing, your existence still has meaning. Even when you cannot see the next step, your life still has purpose. The world may judge people based on success, popularity, and achievements, but God sees something much deeper. He sees the heart. He sees the battles nobody else sees. He sees the tears that nobody else notices. And He sees the strength it takes for you to keep moving forward. One day, many of the things that confuse you now may finally make sense. You may look back and realize that what seemed like a delay was actually preparation. You may realize that what felt like rejection was actually redirection. You may realize that what felt like the end was actually the beginning of something better. The problem is that we want answers before the story is finished. We want explanations before the lesson is complete. We want clarity before the process is over. But life rarely works that way. Understanding often arrives later. Growth often becomes visible later. Wisdom often appears later. Until then, faith means continuing to trust even when the full picture is hidden. So if you find yourself asking, "Why me, God?" today, know that you are not weak for asking the question. You are human. You are hurting. You are searching for understanding. But do not let the question become a prison. Do not let it steal your hope. Do not let it convince you that your story is over. The same God who sees your struggle also sees your future. The same God who sees your tears also sees your potential. The same God who understands your pain understands exactly what it will take to bring you through it. Hold on a little longer. Keep praying. Keep believing, keep showing up, keep taking one step at a time. Your current chapter may be painful, but it is not the whole story. There is still more to be written, and your best days may be much closer than you think. And if this message spoke to your heart today, don't keep it to yourself. Leave a comment and share what part touched you the most. There is someone reading these comments who may need your encouragement. And if you are part of the Anything Godly family, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a message designed to strengthen your faith and lift your spirit. Keep coming back, keep growing, keep believing, because no matter what you are facing right now, you do not have to face it alone. Before you go, remember this: whatever burden you're carrying today, you don't have to carry it alone. God sees every tear, every struggle, every silent prayer, and every battle you're fighting behind closed doors. Don't give up on yourself and don't give up on God. If this message encouraged you, subscribe to Anything Godly and join us again for more faith-filled messages that strengthen the heart, renew the mind, and bring us closer to God. Until next time, stay blessed, stay encouraged, and remember you are loved more than you know.